Gwyn hurried back to her home to save her brother before it was too late. The wisdom from the potion had revealed the last ingredient Gwyn needed, 3 walnuts. There was just 1 week left before the year was over. The sorceress chased her, getting in her way, stopping her at every turn. She cast spell upon spell at Gwyn, turning her into a snail, a rabbit and an earwig. But now Gwyn possessed the power to turn herself back, and each time she did, the sorceress got more and more angry. Chapter 28, Water. I focus on the ground in front of my feet, and I try to keep putting one foot in front of the other. The terrain is the same for a while, broken rock and grass. There are no trees up here. We reach a patch of scrub where the grass isn't growing. Dotted amongst the ground lie twisted pieces of metal. What is it? Asks Enzo, squatting. There's a plaque, says Bryn, pointing. Look, he dashes over to it. Keaton kneels beside him and reads. It says there was a plane crash here on the 14th of September in 1944. 6 people died. It has their names, see? 3 people survived, but were injured. Bryn looks at the bits of metal. And here are the remains from the plane. Why did they crash? Asks Bryn. Maybe they hit fog, I say. I can see how easy it would be. Imagine if their controls failed and they couldn't see and didn't know that they were heading straight into the top of the mountain. That's awful, says Aria, tracing her fingers over the plaque. I wonder if the weather was just like this when the plane crashed. My survival book says that if you crash in a plane, you could stay with the wreck for as long as possible, as you have more chance of being found. I think of the survivors. Were they found here, or did they venture out into the fog? I never thought it would be so easy to get lost up here. The one time I came here with Dad, it was sunny, with big blue skies and views that stretched for miles. Now I feel like we could search these moorlands for days, looking for a way out, unable to see anything around us apart from the greyness. I don't say it aloud, but I can't help shivering. Let's keep going, I say, although I feel as if I'm leading us into nowhere. I'm tired, says Bryn, swinging the safe back and forth in his hand. Enzo takes it from him and turns the dial, trying different combinations as we walk. Can I ever go? Asks Ari after a while, reaching for the safe. She stops walking to turn the dial and I nudge her onwards. I'm so thirsty, she says. Can I have some water? I dig the water bottle out from the backpack, but I can tell from its weight that it's empty. What are we going to do now? Asks Enzo. Get there quickly, I reply. Humans can't survive for long without water, says Keaton, his voice rising. 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air, I say, repeating the words from the survival book. Keaton takes a deep breath in. We're going to find Dad today, don't worry, I say. But I'm not certain. I really believe it anymore. Even if we do make it to the cabin, there's a chance he's got the messages from the hospital by now and left again. We're children, says Bryn. Do you think that means that we can survive for more or less time without water? I'm sure it's longer, I say, although really I have no idea. I'm just trying to make him feel better. I'm tired, says Aria, sitting down. Aria, says Bryn, you keep leaving the safe on the ground. It's your turn to carry it. You haven't even been walking for most of this. Bryn passes the safe to her. I don't want to carry it anymore, says Aria. She kicks it back at him. I'll carry it, says Keaton, picking it up. Bryn snatches it from his hands. Actually, I want to carry it. As he takes the safe, it slips from his hands and tumbles down the hill, rolling into the distance. It smashes against the rocks. We rush after it. The safe lies against a rock which is jutting out of the side of the hill. That must have opened it, says Bryn, bursting with excitement. He reaches it first and lifts the safe up into the air. I see the disappointment on his face. It's not open. Bryn shakes his head. It's just chipped, he says, and lets the safe drop to the ground. Aria shakes her head, deflated. I really thought that fall would open it. We've been walking for hours. Do you know where we're going? Asks Keaton. I'm sorry, I say. I really didn't think it would take this long. Aria opens her mouth and runs around, sticking her tongue into the air. What are you doing? I ask. I'm trying to eat the fog, she says. There's a tiny bit of food left, I say, trying to keep morale up. Let's sit and eat. We sit down, leaning against a collection of giant boulders that rest on each other. Listen, I think I can hear running water, says Keaton, lifting his head into the air. He frowns. I've read about exposure sending you mad. Do you think I'm going mad? Hush, I say. I hear it too. Willow whines and paws at the rocks. I crawl under one of the giant boulders and peer down. Pass me the torch, I say, holding my arm back. The sunlight doesn't reach the deep corners in the shadows. Here, says Bryn. I switch it on and shine the beam of light around. I can definitely hear it, I say. A trickle of water. It's coming from below. There's a deep hole between two of the rocks and it stretches down and down like a well. I see the trickle of water coming through the hole. There's water here, I shout. Is it safe to drink, asks Keaton. I crawl back out to examine my survival book. How to find drinking water. Find a spring. Spring water is water that comes from the ground. It is usually safe to drink because the earth filters it and there's less chance of it being polluted. Never drink stagnant water. The water must be flowing. Look in valleys for streams. Again, look for flowing water. Follow grazing animals. They're usually never far away from water. Boil any water for at least 1 minute to purify it. Be wary of any water that looks polluted, has bones in it, or smells strange. We don't have a way to boil the water, says Keaton, reading over my shoulder. I think this is a spring, I say. We can risk drinking it without boiling it, but how do we get to it? What do we have with us, asks Enzo. I have a rope, I say, emptying the backpack. Do we have a cup, asks Aria. No, but we do have the water bottle. I tow the rope around the top of the water bottle with a round turn and 2 half hitches, the knot I use for tying the boat to mooring posts. I crawl back under the rocks on my stomach, hold the torch between my teeth and drop the water bottle down. Enzo climbs under the rocks with me and peers into the depth trying to see the water. I continue to lower the rope down carefully until the bottle reaches the bottom. I hold it against the current to collect the water before slowly pulling the rope back up. The bottle gets caught on a rock and I accidentally tug it too hard. If I lose this water bottle, then that's it. Our only way of getting water, gone. Luckily, the water bottle stays attached. I manage to untangle the rope and pull the water bottle back up. I taste it first. The water is cold and refreshing. It tastes a little bit like the earth, but how I'd imagine rocks to taste. But other than that, fine. I let Bryn and Aria drink, and then Enzo, who then pours some out into my cupped hands for Willow to lap up. She slurps up every bit. Keaton eyes us warily. Here, I say, passing it to him. It's fine, really. He takes a tiny sip and waits before gulping the rest down. Then I lower the bottle back down and get another bottle full. After 4 refills, we're thirst quenched. I fill it again and put it in my rucksack for later. I drank so much I feel sick, says Bryn. Well, at least we should be good for a while, I say, praying that this water will keep us going for the final stretch to Dad's. The sorceress knew the only way to catch Gwyn was to make the same potion for herself, so that she had all the knowledge in the universe too, and she had to make it quickly. She didn't have 3 months to wait around stirring it. Chapter 29, Mist. We walk with a renewed sense of energy after the spring water. I know we're not that far away, I say optimistically. Maybe an hour tops. Although the mist has me feeling disorientated. You said that an hour ago, says Bryn, rolling his eyes. And in the hour before that, says Enzo, smiling at Bryn. And then we can eat pasta and ice cream, says Aria. Do you think your dad has eggs? Asks Keaton. I'd love some scrambled eggs right now. If only the fog would lift. Where's Enzo? I ask, whipping my head around. Up here, he calls from the top of an enormous rock. I thought I might be able to see more. Can you? I ask. Not really. I'll take a look, says Keaton. I'm taller than you. You're not scared of the height? I ask. I've been scared of everything we've done since I left my house, he says, grinning. What's one more thing at this point? He begins to clamber up and grasps the top of the rock, but then slips. He falls and lands awkwardly on his ankle. Ah! He yells, clutching his leg. Enzo slides off the side of the rock and bends down next to him. I run up to them both, kneeling. I unlace Keaton's shoe and pull down his sock. Willow licks his ankle. I don't think that's helping, Willow, I whisper. Does it look broken? Keaton asks. His ankle looks normal to me. It's not swollen or bleeding. I reach into the backpack and pull out the first aid kit and the survival book. I flip through the pages to the first aid section. Like the book says to do, I examine both his ankles next to each other. One looks a bit puffier than the other, but not swollen enough to be broken. Well, asks Keaton, is the bone sticking out? No, nothing like that. I think you're going to be just fine, I say. But it really hurts, replies Keaton. And if you break a leg without immediate medical attention, nerve damage can result in amputation. That's definitely not going to happen, I say. How do you know? Because my book says that you don't have any of the symptoms that suggest urgent care is needed. I might do. Are you conscious? I ask. Yes. Are you suffering from blood loss? He lifts his head and looks at his foot. I see blood. That's just a scratch, I say. It's already stopped bleeding. Oh, he says. I think it's a sprain, I add. How do you know all of this? Mum's a nurse and I'm reading what this book says. Next I read how to treat a sprain. Remember, R-I-C-E. Rest. Ice the injury for 15 minutes at a time. Compression. Use a bandage to stop the swelling. Elevation. Keep the ankle elevated. I scrunch up my face thinking. The problem is we don't do many of these things. We need to keep going. How is he going to walk? I don't think any of us can carry him. I turn to Aria, Enzo and Bryn. We need something to make crutches. Have a look for 2 big sticks. Stay where you can see us though and take Willow. Is it me or is it getting colder, says Keaton, wrapping his arms around himself. I think it's because we stopped moving, I say, but an icy chill creeps up my spine. I bite my lip. It was hard enough when Keaton had the use of both legs. Now it's going to be impossible. In the first aid kit, I find a compression bandage and slide it over his ankle before putting his socks and shoes back on. Can you put any weight on it? I ask, helping him up. Let me try, he says. He puts his foot down and yelps. Ouch! It really does hurt, he says. Why does everything go wrong every single time I try to help? Together we hop to a boulder where he sits down. I smile sympathetically. Mum's right, he says, annoyed. Everything's dangerous. We found some sticks. Bryn and Aria appear out of the fog, followed by Enzo. I put all my weight on the sticks. They hold and don't break. I think these will work, I say, handing them over to Keaton. Can you walk if you lean on them? And at that moment, as if we need something else to go wrong, it starts snowing.